There we are. So that should be good. Um, yeah, guys. So our first session last week, we had a lot of content that we focused on where it came to communication skills, and basically we focused on the principles of communication. So foundational principles that allow us to communicate with people more effectively. Um, so if you keep these foundations in mind, then you make pretty much all your communication much more easy, right? Much more effortlessly, which is what I was aiming for, and obviously what we are all aiming for in order to understand each other best. So today I'm going to build onto that, where we are going to look at a couple of concepts where we are diving in more depth into these communication principles, but also how to apply these in different parts of the work that we do. Yeah, so that's the focus for today. And we're going to do that with an agenda where we do a quick welcome and introduction again. And then I'll focus on three topics that are, very important for all of us to know about, which is messaging, forgetting, and remembering. And these things are basically about how our brain deals with information that it gets. Yeah, because we get a lot of information all the time, but it's important that we understand how our brain works to make sure that we can give people around us the type of information that they will actually remember, and focus as much as possible on information that is useful for people. Yeah? So understanding these rules then allows us to look at how we communicate, and that way make better decisions, going forward to ensure that people remember better. Yeah. Then we're going to focus on building trust. So you guys remember from last time that I focused on different types of communication focus, right? From essentially from people's communication styles and preferences. Now, when we look at those, um, it's useful basically to think about how we connect with each of these four different styles, but also in general, how do I build trust with the people who I communicate with? And building trust is really important because once you build trust, it's much easier to share information, to give information, and to basically get to the bottom of things, right? And that doesn't work without building trust with the people around you. So we'll focus on this. And from there, we'll move into, once trust is built, into clarity, but especially in online communication, because we see that a lot of clarity can be lost by the way that we write, by the way that we type, by the way that we speak. Yeah. So what I want to do is to focus on a model that allows us to dig down into being more clear in our communications. And lastly, I'm going to teach you guys and focus more on the maximum effect in your online tools. So the online tools that you typically use for any type of communication, but usually this is much more about, for example, video conferencing or video calling, because we use that tool a lot more these days. So for the people who are not that used to it, and or who feel a little bit uncomfortable, using these tools for communication, I'm going to focus more on how to improve your skills there, right? How to feel more confident, and practice a little bit with building that confidence, but also allowing you to do some exercises and activities to make the sessions that you do a little bit more appealing to the people who join. Yeah. So that is the plan for today. Like the last time, this session is going to take place until 11:30 my time and 5:30 your time. All right, so 5:30 p.m. we will finish. So this is a long session, and don't worry, I'm not going to talk all the time. We're going to do a lot of activities with you guys, right, to make sure that you stay engaged. And of course, I will do a break halfway through to make sure that you guys, can do a bit of a refresher, relax, take a stroll around, use the restroom, etc., etc. Okay, so no worries there. So with that, let's jump into our quick welcome and a quick reminder. So, as you remember, hopefully from the last time, my focus for trainings is that, they work best as long as we adhere to three important rules, which is please set your phones to silent, yeah, as much as you can, so that you can actually stay focused on the training content. Yeah, so anything like email or phone or texting, please turn it off to make sure that you can focus on the content for today. That would really help both yourself but also the other participants. Um, like we mentioned the last time, training and doing trainings like this is kind of like going to the gym, right? If we don't do the exercise, we don't build muscle. And that's the same thing here. So when we practice these communication concepts, I really would like to ask you guys to be actively involved so you can practice, so you can get better at what it is that you're doing. And with practice, of course, we will make mistakes from time to time, which is also okay, as long as we all agree that this is a safe space where we can learn. Yeah. And that's what I would like to focus on. We are focusing here on the fact that, we give each other feedback where needed or when necessary. We focus both on things that work and things that don't work. And this is a great place, a training like this to try things out, try things that you might not have done or tried before. Because once you do, then you actually can find out new concepts and better ways for you to communicate even better than you are already doing. Yeah, so feel free to try things out because this is a safe space. Yeah, so if you guys remember that well and are still happy with those rules, then please send me a quick thumbs up so I know that you guys are all on board. Thank you, Jin. Thank you, Jin. Okay, thank you, Tan. All right, good stuff. All right, thank you, Nguyen. Both of you. Yeah, fantastic. So with that, let's jump to our first bit of interaction because last week we focused a lot, like I said, on communication principles, different communication styles, and also around things around online communication tools and how to best use them. So do you guys have any questions about last week? Any questions or thoughts, things that you've tried, things that you would like to share, anything at all?
I guess I have one touch.
Mm-hmm. Sure thing, Jim.
So we learned about the four different personality type last week.
Mm-hmm.
And my question is, sometimes when you work with people who are dominant and indirect, and if you on the the other side of the quadrants where you more people focus rather than task focus, sometimes when you work with dominant people, you get your feelings hurt. So how should I manage that?
Oh, that's a good one. So, well, first of all, I think that one of these things is like that you need to create a picture for yourself where you look at communication as not failure but feedback, right? Some people they just communicate quite harshly, quite direct, and um, when that communication comes through, yeah, for some people that's a bit of a sensitive spot for yourself, and you get hurt or you feel like, ooh, that's a sensitivity thing, or that's something that you're sensitive to. This is not something that you can just overcome, but the best way to deal with it is to actually just deal with, the people who communicate like that, right? So you become more used to it, and that way you build, a better way for yourself to practice and train yourself to deal with people who communicate that way in the first place, right? So that's the first thing. Practice where it comes to this definitely makes perfect. Yeah. Um, the second thing I think I can share here is that basically when people have a dominant way of communicating, our natural response is to become more submissive, right? So when somebody is dominant, towards us, then our natural response is to be more submissive, right? Which in turn makes these people become more dominant. Yeah. So how do you overcome that? Well, basically, if you match people's dominance level in their way of communicating, right? So if you don't do that automatic thing where you become more submissive, but you actually become more dominant, then that person will feel better recognized, right? And you actually communicate together in a better way. Yeah. Um, and this is also a skill that you need to pick up, right? So, for example, I've worked quite a bit with the director of a language center in Ho Chi Minh City, and he was a very dominant guy, right? He's a guy who loves to talk like, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that, and I want you to do this and I want you to do that. And when I talk to him, I'm always like, okay, so you want me to do this? Good stuff. So how about, I can come in, but what is your team going to be doing, in order to help me out with this, right? What kind of deals can we make? Because the way that I would see it is that we would do it like this and this and this, right? So what I do is like I match his dominance level when I communicate with him. And when I do that, he feels more like, hey, that he's talking to somebody who gets him. And I feel that I can actually communicate at that same level with him to make sure that we can get things done, right? But that's a switch that you need to make when you communicate with those people, and you kind of need to feel out, how people communicate and match that in our way of verbal and nonverbal communication, right? And that's actually what we're going to practice today, yeah, to see, hey, what are things that we can do to feel out how somebody communicates with me, yeah. So I
Very
hope that
good.
answers your question. Yeah, sure thing.
Yeah, let's see what you did there too. It's sort of like you establish some boundary as well. Here's what I'm gonna do, and what is your team going to do to help me with
Yeah,
this? So
yeah,
there's I can see some boundary there.
yeah. Very true. It's part of a boundary, but it's also matching the way this person talks, right? Matching the way that the person who has a dominant way of communicating, I match the way that they speak. Yeah. And that way there is just more of a connection between the two of us, right? And that makes it easier. Yeah. But you need to be aware that when somebody's dominant, your automatic response is to be more submissive. Yeah. And that's a thing that you need to work against, right? So that's a way where you need to say, hey, that person is dominant. I need to not fully, but match that dominance level to some part, yeah, to make sure that there's a connection. Yeah. Very good question, Tian. Thank you. All right.
I just want to add in a little bit just to kind of clarify. So when dealing with someone with like certain specific personality type, the best way to respond is instead of react to their personality types like naturally, we have to mirror their personality type or like they're responsive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, true. So, well, not directly mirror their personality type, right? But mirror the way that they communicate, right? Um, so, and understand what the focus points are for these communication types, right? So, for example, when you are communicating with somebody who's a thinker, you notice that because you see that person be a little bit slower in their communication. You see them be sometimes more inward focused, yeah, because they turn away or they think, and they are usually a bit quiet. And that is because they need to process things in their head, right? And we match that when we communicate with thinkers by also slowing down our pace and putting pauses into our speech to make sure that these people have time to think about what they need to do and how they want to act. Right. So that's basically what I mean, Wendy, by connecting. And I think that that's where you were going to as well, correct?
Yes. Thank you so much.
Great stuff. Yeah. Thanks for adding that in. Very good. Very good. All right. Any more questions or thoughts about last week's session? Wendy?
Probably not.
Oh, probably not. Okay. Thank you. Good stuff. Then we'll move on with our first topic from messaging, forgetting, and remembering. So something very important to connect to is basically we always communicate. And because of that, we always send silent messages to some extent. Yeah. So so basically, and that's good, Tian. Basically, when we are communicating, we need to also understand, well, when do we not communicate? And this is actually impossible because we always communicate. Yeah. Even when I'm actually quiet, I'm communicating certain things. And here is then also the big question for many people, what do we communicate when we actually say nothing? And here's where we need to watch for certain things, right? Because when we say nothing, we typically communicate in a way where we showcase or, where we show to people, it's actually okay what's happening now, right? And this can sometimes be difficult because we can actually send a strong message to other people the more there is silence. Yeah. And this is especially true for example, people in a managing position or leaders or influencers. Yeah, because you say a great deal by not saying something and therefore condoning an action. Yeah. So as an example, you could say, well, if somebody in your team um, shows or does something that they shouldn't be doing, yeah, and you as a manager stay quiet about it and therefore allow it to happen, then that sends a message to the rest of your team to say, hey, that thing that that person did that was wrong is apparently okay to do, right? So, and that's an issue, right? For example, if you have a team meeting and one of your team members lashes out to another team member, like, in public and in a bad way, and you as a manager allow that to happen by not saying anything, right? Or by not highlighting that, hey, let's, let's take a breath here and let's revisit this and, let's look at, how we can look at the problem and not so much focus on the person. That communicates a lot more when you allow it to happen. Yeah. And that's what we need to be watchful for when it comes to silent messages, right? When actually not communicating or not actively communicating, we are actually telling people a lot more. So do you guys have any examples yourself where you've seen this happen or where you feel that sometime being quiet sends a stronger message than being, than actually actively speaking out?
I think like it could be during the aggressive discussion or like in a big meeting, like if we like you said earlier about a dominant person. How about like we if we know that the more we adapt to their conversation style, like more aggressive or more dominant, the conversation won't lead to anywhere. So it's better to keep silence by that time and wait for them to finish their talking or their argument, and then we say our thinking. Is that an example here?
Yeah, that is an example, right? And in this case, the silence, when there's like a strong discussion happening, and one colleague is, being quite harsh to another colleague, right? And you allow that to happen, and you don't interrupt them, or you allow that to happen. Your silence is actually showing to the rest of the group that it's okay for one colleague to be harsh to another colleague, right? So that's usually not something that you would want to show by staying quiet, right? In this case, you actually, as a manager, need to speak up and say, hey, it's not okay that you treat your other colleague in such a harsh way. Yeah. So then staying silent as a manager usually sends a stronger message. Yeah, by saying, well, it's okay. Actually, it's fine for people to be harsh to each other, right? So that's basically where silence can sometimes be stronger than actually speaking out. Yeah? So I can give another example. When I started my work back in 2004, one of my colleagues sent a very big message, a very big email, to 2,000 people in the company, and that email contained an attachment of 150 megabytes. So there's a very big file that was sent to many, many people. Yeah. Now this was early days for that company, so it put a very big effort onto the internal IT system. Yeah. But our managers didn't say anything about this, right? Even though all of us in our team were thinking, oh boy, you see that very big list of people who received this, and then this really big file of 150 megabytes, that's going to be very tough on the system. We all knew that, right? But because our managers didn't say anything, for us it felt like, is this okay to do? Because because that's probably not a good thing, but apparently it's okay. So we'll just leave it. Yeah. And that actively showed the wrong behavior, by our manager staying silent. Yeah. So that's that as well as an example where you want to showcase, hey, this is actually not okay to do, right? And sometimes when people are doing good things, instead of saying, hey, that's great that you do it, you can also silently showcase, like, yes, this is the way to do it, right? By actively staying silent, and that way showing, hey, this is actually a good thing to do. Yeah. So with that, our communication, by sometimes being silent, can even be stronger than when we speak up actively. Yeah? So that's the thing about silent messaging. It's very subtle, but we need to be aware of it as we communicate through our organization and in our own teams. Yeah? So with that, let's jump into a quick quiz where we are going to focus on non-verbal listening skills. Yeah, so let me launch the poll, and you guys take a bit of time, please, to answer the questions. So good luck. Can you guys all see the poll? Okay, great. Okay, guys. So only one more person to finish the quiz. Take your time. We have another 30 seconds. So feel free to answer the last few questions and then I'll share the results. Okay, guys, I will close the poll in just a little bit. So if the last person can finish the questions, then we should be good. Okay. And 3, 2, 1, and I'm ending it now. So let me share the results with you guys, right? So you should all be able to see this, in your screen right now. So the quiz itself is quite useful, right, to see how we're doing. So for our questions, yeah, the first question, the answer is B, 7%. Yeah, so actual 7% comes from the word spoken when we have a spoken statement. Yeah. So this is very small, right? Because much more comes, as you can see with the lady on our right-hand side, from our non-verbal communication. Yeah. So for example, facial expressions or gestures or such, right? So non-verbal communication includes all forms of body language. Yeah. Vocal variety, that is also number B, the ability of a speaker to use inflections and pitch, right? And the reason why that is when we can use our voice in a varied way, yeah, then we can actually communicate a lot of the way how we feel and how we think about things. Yeah. The third one, during a meeting between you and a coworker, yeah, he or she moves a chair from behind the desk and asks you to sit down to discuss something, right? Now, you can interpret this as he or she is trying to conclude it quickly. That's probably not the case because what that person is doing is they're actively taking a chair and moving it to the end of the room to make sure that they can give you their full attention. Yeah, so he or she is ready to listen to you very attentively at that moment. Yeah. Now, when a person crosses their arms, it's an indication that that person actually might not be in agreement, right? You guys all had that one right. Yeah, because if somebody sits back and crosses their arms, it's a very clear sign where they say, I'm not so sure, right? I'm critical of the answer that you just gave. And lastly, nonverbal communication skills are important to be a good communicator. That's absolutely true. Yeah. When you have really good nonverbal communication skills, you can actually say much more than by just saying things, right? And good positive signs are smiling or maintaining eye contact or unfolding your arms and opening your body language, right? Negatives are the opposite, yeah, when people frown or actually look away or try to avoid eye contact. Arms crossing, yeah, that's usually again a sign that says, hey, I'm not in agreement or I'm not sure about what you're saying here. And we still send the strongest messages non-verbally. Yeah, so for us, this is basically a main thing that we can focus on when we communicate with other people. Yeah. So that brings us then to the laws of remembering. Yeah, so understanding how we communicate is one, and we'll build on this later on in this session. But then the other part is, well, when I know how people remember things, it helps me to share the right information. So how do people remember things? First of all, we remember best what we heard last. Yeah. So what we heard more recently or lastly, this is why we often repeat the most important part of a message. So if you guys remember from our last training, the way I ended my workshop is that I gave you the most important highlights of my workshop at the end of the workshop. And I do that because that way I can be sure that you remember the most important parts of what was discussed in the first workshop, right? So that's why I share what we remembered last. Then frequently we remember what we hear most often. Yeah. In my previous job, my former manager, he wanted to make a change to our team's policy and our team's strategy. But it was a big change. So what he did is that he created a presentation, and for about a month time, every team that he met with, he would share this presentation and he would talk about it over and over again to make sure that everybody in the team, but also outside of our team, knew what our new strategy was going to be. And because he repeated it so often, all the people around him and all the other teams also knew what he was going to do. And that way it was easy for him to get support, yeah, because he repeated it so often. The third law of remembering is impact. Yeah, so we remember the things that are presented dramatically. Yeah, for example, if you want to learn a new language, right? I'm trying to learn Vietnamese. Yeah, and very difficult language for me to learn. One of the easiest things that I've ever learned is how to count in Vietnamese. And why is that? Because whenever I started going out in Vietnam, every time I went out with my Vietnamese friends, there was this "một, hai, ba, yo," right? And that was very dramatic because every time people say "yo," yeah, it has this kind of impact on me to start doing something, yeah, and that allowed me to count very quickly. "Một, hai, ba," and then of course instead of "yo," it had to be "bon," "nam," etc., etc. Yeah, but I learned the first three parts by, a very dramatic way of the way that in Vietnam people say cheers. Yeah? So this is a good way also of remembering things. And lastly, application. When we know how to use something, that is when we remember it best. Yeah. So if I share theory about stuff that you cannot use, it's easier for you to forget it. But when I share something where you say, aha, tomorrow I'm going to try this, yeah, then you're much more likely to remember things. So this is all about our communication, that we can actually remember things better. Yeah. So that's remembering. Now let's look at this, the different side of the same coin, which is forgetting. Yeah. So what kind of things do we forget? Well, here's a very scary thing. We forget 50% of what we hear immediately. Yeah. And you guys probably know why that is, right? Because if you remember from the first training session, we all look at the world in our own specific way. Yeah. And we forget the stuff that we cannot immediately use or doesn't immediately fit in our frame of reference, right? Or where we feel like, well, I'm just not connected to this at all. So we forget 50% of what we hear immediately. We forget 75% of what we hear within 2 months. So within 2 months' time, we forget 75% of what we hear. Yeah. Now, fortunately, there are very good reasons for this because our brain is limited, right? We cannot remember everything. And also because we remember many things, we cannot always access it. Yeah. And because we cannot always access what we remember, it's also harder for us to remember these things. Yeah. So that's why our brain lets certain things go, because it doesn't really have an immediate use for it. Lastly, of the 25% we do remember, only 60% is correct. Plus we add things that were never said in the first place. Yeah. So a funny way that how our brain works is that when we try and remember something, we remember a good part of it well, but for the things that we don't remember well, we still want to have a story towards ourselves, but also towards people in our environment. So what we start to do, what our brain starts to do, is that it starts to add things, right? And add things that never happened or were never said. Yeah, we add them because we want to have a full story for ourselves that we are able to share with others. Yeah. So in short, our brain is one of the least dependable tools in our body. Yeah. So this is where, or this is why, we need to, track certain things through email or look up certain things as well that we've done before, right? Or just keep repeating things that work over and over to make sure that we remember them and that we start to do them automatically. So when we know this, right, we can also focus our communication on things that we know are first and foremost important. And this is where our communication circles come in. So when we know that we easily forget things, but also that we remember certain things dramatically or frequently or for the use of things, it helps to think of our communication in circles, yeah, because we got 3 levels of sharing. The first one is must know. Must know information is the information that we have to know in order to do our jobs, right? If we don't know this, we do our jobs poorly. We cannot do our jobs. Second level is stuff that we should know. So this is information that is nice to know, or not nice to know, is actually stuff that we should know in order to do our jobs better. But it is not crucial for us to do our job, right? So the should know part is a very good addition, and it allows us to progress ahead and to climb up in the corporate ladder. Yeah. But we could do without, but we wouldn't be as successful. The third level then is nice to know. Nice to know is all the stuff that, like I said, is nice to know, but is not necessary to do our jobs well. And if we will know it, we will not do our jobs better. Yeah? So that's the third circle or layer of communication, or things that we talk about in our jobs. And there's actually a fourth level, which is can't know. So the can't know information is basically the information that you, as for example, as a manager, might be aware about, but that you cannot tell the people in your team, because it could be confidential, it could be private, or it could be proprietary, yeah, for the organization that you work for. And typically when you communicate the can't know to other people in your team, right, they will usually accept it, right? So for example, if you know about revenue numbers or cost numbers in your team, but these numbers are not supposed to go out to anybody in your team because they are very sensitive information, yeah, it could be that sometimes your team members ask you about this, like, well, okay, so what was our revenue actually from last month? And that you then can tell, well, I know, but I can't share it with you because of company policy. I'm not allowed to. When you explain it that way to the people in your team, they typically will say, okay, that's fine, that makes sense, right? That's okay. Yeah, but the stuff around must know and should know, those are the things that people need to know about in order to do their jobs really well. So we need to think about our information and say, well, what is stuff that fits in the first 2 categories, the must know and the should know? Which are those things? And are we sharing this? And if we are sharing it, are we sharing it in the right way so people will remember them best? Yeah. So do you guys have any questions or thoughts about these communication circles, or the laws of forgetting, or the laws of remembering?
I think we are good.
Good stuff. Thank you, Tan.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, let's play with it a little bit. Yeah. So what I'd like you guys to do, and I'll send this to you also over chat, right, is that I'm going to divide you up in 2 groups, and I want you to think in your group about how would you restructure your communication at RMIT now that you know all about forgetting, remembering, and the information that must, should, and are nice to know. Now, how would you restructure it? Yeah, for example, so I'm putting you in breakout rooms, and I want you to ask yourself 3 things. What situations at work do you see where communication can be changed? Also, where can you make changes in the way you communicate to make sure that the right information comes through now better? And thirdly, what impact would these changes bring in terms of people remembering information better, but also remembering the right information? Yeah. So this is more about, what can we do to improve the impact of our communication within RMIT? Yeah. So I'll let you guys discuss this for about 10 minutes. Yeah. And to see if you guys can come up with a few ways that allow you to improve your communication throughout RMIT. So if you bear with me 1 second, I'll put this also in chat, yeah, to make it a little bit easier for you guys to come back to, yeah, and then I'll put you in your breakout rooms so you can discuss this together, yeah. So here we go, and I'll make 2 rooms. So guys, the rooms are open. I'll set the timer for 10 minutes and I'll come and have a look in a little bit to see how you guys are doing. Okay, so good luck. Please join your rooms and I'll see you in a few minutes.
Và em không
Dạ.
và em không
Hi.
xuống xuống cái lầu của em, xong rồi em cũng chỉ nghe được thông tin là kiểu như là tin đồn thôi, chứ cũng không có một cái official communication nói là
Sorry, good talk in Vietnamese. Yeah.
No
so-
worries at all. No worries at all. I just popped my head around the corner to make sure that you guys are doing okay.
we are
Everything good?
in
Very good.
discussion. Yeah.
Fantastic.
We
I'll
can
leave you to it.
Switch.
Okay. Yeah.
No
Thank you.
worries. I'll leave you to it. I'll see you in a bit. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Stationary and asking or like responding to certain questions. So 3 ways of communicating with student. With internal stakeholder, majority of the times are via emails or like message on team. We rarely call internal stakeholder unless there's like either emergency or it's just quicker to call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi guys. Just checking if you guys are doing okay, but it seems that you're having a good discussion, right? Or do you have any questions for me?
I think that we are doing good.
Fantastic. I'll leave you to it then. Okay.
Okay.
Good luck.
Okay.
Okay. Bye. Hey everyone, good to see you back. My duck is quacking. Alright. So, how did that go in your different groups? What kind of thoughts did you guys come up with? So, how about room one, Wang and Win and Tan? Any thoughts from your end?
Yes, we are discussing about a situation at work when we return to campus. By that time, we when the even though that the company allow us to return to campus when we declare that we have 2 vaccines shots, but
Mm-hmm.
however, there were some F0 cases in the office,
Yeah.
and in group one, there one member, her name is Nguyen, and she told us the story that um, on the floor where her office stays, she heard a rumor that there was an F0 case in the office. However, um, there is there was no official confirmation about that. So uh, what what could be changed to improve the way to, when she heard about that F0 case, um, the news made everyone quite nervous and worried that what should they do next in that situation. And so she thought that the best way in this situation is that HR should send out an official email to notify everyone who worked in that office at that time, be aware that they were affected by an F0 case and they should self-isolate at home. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, um, and that could make people less worried, and they will have a way to anticipate what will come next, like stay at home for 14 days or report to their manager that they used to go to the office by that time. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
I think the impact that this change would bring is that people will feel less worried, and they will be more reactive to the news. So we think that we can conclude that the information that we are sharing is that that information cause a dramatically impact on the people who heard about the news, so they remember and they react to that. Uh, I can take another example is that many months ago there were a lot of cases, a lot of F0 cases, but people didn't remember how many
Mm-hmm.
cases happened because that information is not nice to know, or they must know, or they shouldn't know because it won't impact quite dramatically on their life. For example, if there were an F0 in the family or in the neighborhood, they might remember that information. But if we ask them like in August, how many F0 cases in Ho Chi Minh City, they we won't remember the
Sure.
exact number. Yes, and uh, it's also about sharing information. Um, that the communication can be changed, because like we said that if we receive an official confirmation from HR about the information, we will know that information is correct, like
Mm.
there is an actually F0 case in the office and we need to take action on that. However, at the moment they only knew that it was a rumor, so
Mm.
they couldn't decide whether they should return to the office to work as normal or they should stay at home. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's actually a very good story and a very good example, Tan, because
Yeah.
and basically your conclusion is share information early and often, right? So
Yeah.
people know what's going on. Share it immediately so everybody knows what's going on and what needs to be done in
Mm.
order to deal with F0 cases correctly. right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, very good. Very good. And that's, and that's definitely a very good, learning point, right? And in this case also for that F0 case or F0 cases in general, um, that it's clearly communicated if that is the case, that, that you're very open about it, right? In your
Mm.
case or for your group, it seems that that is something that you guys would very much appreciate, right?
Yes.
Yeah, great examples. Thank you guys for sharing that. Much appreciated. Okay, good stuff. How about room number two? So Tien, Cham, and Windy, what were your conclusions and learnings?
There wasn't much of a like special situation or special cases happening during our discussion because
Mhm.
most of the time during our discussion we found out that um, we like beside my department, which is we're dealing with a lot of like different type of student.
Mhm.
Otherwise, um, we just have direct conversation with like already have a focused topic.
Mhm.
Only when we was reaching out or having a conversation with stakeholders or with students. However, one of the things that we kind of all agree is that in in such setting like a university setting or like any business setting, it's always good to follow up a conversation, especially a phone conversation, with a follow-up email afterward to confirm the information that we just discussed. 'Cause like you said, during like our training, 50% of the information that we just heard, we probably forgot right away. And with student dealing with student and dealing with deadlines, we don't want them to accidentally misunderstood a deadline or what to do. So most likely what happening was that after the phone conversation, we would send an email to the student to confirm, hey, this is the information that we have discussed via our phone call.
Yep.
Because lots of the time, student, um, some of them are nice, but some of them do try to take advantage of the um, quote unquote miscommunication to try and get their way,
Right.
or complain, and having like a written record somewhere is always a good tool to deal with situation like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And these are simple but to the point very useful tips, right? Where especially when you know towards your student population that some of them can be a bit flaky or some of them might not be focused at this point at their studies too much and try, to pin things on their other students and say, oh, I didn't know, or hey, you didn't tell me this in the phone call, or hey, I forgot because, it wasn't the phone call, so I just, don't really remember. Yeah. So this is, that's where email is always like a very good safety net, right? So to speak, to catch any potentially missing communication in one net that says here is where all the important information and the decisions that we've made are saved and stored, and everybody has access to those. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Great stuff. Yeah, yeah, very true. And actually, a construction like that, and I'm pretty sure that you guys are using this already, quite clearly. But a construction like that is really good. It kind of like ties off every kind of conversation you have, right? Because you can talk about, for example, a chat conversation or a phone conversation. Together you discuss in the best way how you're going to fix things, and then once you've both agreed on the phone that this is how you will fix things, right? Then you send an email to confirm everything in writing so everybody knows, yep, this is what we did, and yes, this is where we're going, right? It's a very, um, well, not foolproof, but it's a way to make it much less, that there are much less mistakes that can be made in the back and forth between sender and receiver. Yeah, great, Good stuff. Thank you, group number 2. Okay. So let me save this page as well to make sure that, we can remember this, because yes, I do all that stuff too after the workshop. And that then brings us to building trust. And trust is, like I said, really important, because trust allows us to share information more freely. When there's no trust, people will not give you information. It's as simple as that. If I don't trust you, I don't give you information. But then the trick is, how do we build trust? And for me, a very funny way where I found out how easy sometimes trust can be built is my coffee story. So I was living in District 4 for about a year and a half. And I started living in Nguyen Quai. And around that street, there's a lot of like little side streets, little hems. And I was living in one of these, little hems in a big house. And every morning I walked through the hem to the supermarkets to buy my breakfast. And I did that for about 6 months. And every time that I passed or went through the hem, there was a little coffee shop. And this was usually around 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. So there were a lot of people in the small coffee shop who were sitting there. Usually a lot of guys, a few women, but mostly guys. And they were all drinking coffee, chatting, getting ready to go to work. And I passed them like for 6 months. And one day I walked past the coffee shop and one guy says, "Hey, you, come here, sit, drink coffee." I said, "Okay, great, thank you." So I sat down and I got a café Sudan, and the guy sits next to me and he doesn't speak any English, right? Just like maybe 1 or 2 words. And all the other people in the coffee shop didn't speak English, right? Maybe a few words here and there, but that was it. And as you know, and as you can tell, my Vietnamese is like very, very little. So I couldn't really have conversations too much either. But I was sitting there and these guys were, making fun of me, but in a good-natured way, in a funny way. And I noticed that they were doing that. So for me, it was kind of funny. So I was laughing with them and at them as well. And sometimes we were trying to talk by using the same gestures and signals. And in the meantime, we had coffee and it was okay. And after about 10 minutes sitting there, one guy grabs his phone, starts up Google Translate, and via Google Translate asks me if I would want to come to his house and teach his 12-year-old daughter English. And I'm thinking, okay, I just met you like 10 minutes ago. How is it that you are now already asking me to come to your house and teach your 12-year-old daughter English? You hardly know me, right? Why do you already trust me so much that you want me to come and teach your kid, right? So for me, that was a bit of a question. And it's kind of hard to explain because, we do these kind of things like all the time, right? That are irrational, but that we sometimes do because we trust people, right? For example, you have kids and sometimes you want to go away with your partner, right? To have like a party somewhere or just to have a dinner with the two of you. So what you do is like, well, you look around and you see maybe in their neighborhood that there's a girl who is like maybe in her teens, 16, 17 years old. And everybody knows her and you know her too. And you ask her, "Hey, why don't you come and watch my kids for an evening? So me and my wife can go out, and have a dinner," right? And it's very normal, especially where I'm from in Europe or the United States to do this, right? But it's also very irrational because, well, it's a 16 or 17-year-old girl, not very qualified, and you're trusting her with your kids. How does that work? It's funny. And the reason is because when we start to trust people, we don't really do that because there's a verbal connection or something. But we do that because the way that we communicate matches with the way that they communicate. And that's how, when I met the Vietnamese guys in the coffee shop, there was trust. Yeah. Because what I was doing was I was just, smiling with them and at them at the same way as they do towards me. I was using, my non-verbal communication, gestures, my posture, looking around, making eye contact, right? and trying my best and being friendly, and but also showcasing like, hey, you're all good guys, right? And they thought the same about me. And that grounding thought, hey, you're all good people. And they thought that same stuff about me. That was also the foundation for trust. And we communicated that trust, not by speaking, but by our gestures, our way of looking, and our way of appreciating each other. And that's how we built trust. So many times trust is built not by talking to people, but by our way of connecting with people and building rapport, as we call it. Yeah. So how do we then connect with others, right? And what is this rapport? Yeah, so rapport is a French term, and rapport basically means there's total responsiveness between people. And you see this sometime when two really good friends meet. Yeah, think about one of your best friends or somebody in your family that you're very close to. When you meet that person and you stand in front of each other and you talk, for some reason, you don't really have to think. You just instantly relax. And when you look at people who are that well connected, you can actually see them, breathe in the same way, talk in the same way, use the same gestures, speak at the same speed and at the same tone, right? Because that's what people do when they trust each other. And we call this matching and mirroring. Yeah, so we call this matching somebody's behavior. And we do this automatically because we feel connected to them. Yeah. And we mirror what they do. So if somebody, for example, smiles, I tend to smile then too, right? Or when somebody uses gestures in a certain way, I use the same gestures. Yeah. And that way we connect with people, right? And that way our style, so the way that we non-verbally communicate is much more important than the substance. What we talk about is usually not that important, especially in the beginning. But the way in which we communicate is much more important to build that trust. Yeah. And this is how then trust is built. And the reason why that works is we as people, who do we trust? Ourselves. So when somebody is showcasing themselves as if they are us, as if they are the same as you, your connection becomes, hey, I'm talking to me, right? I'm talking to myself. And because I'm talking to myself, hey, I will share anything because I trust myself. Yeah, so this is how we connect with people, right? And we use all the tools for non-verbal and verbal also communication. Yeah. So for example, what we typically do when we meet somebody for the first time is that we try and connect by using the words to build rapport. But in the beginning, that's not really that important, right? Typically what we want to start doing is connect first with our body language. Yeah. So when somebody has a certain posture, we match that posture, or certain gestures they use, or facial expressions that they use, or the way or the level of eye contact that they have with somebody who they talk to. Some people who are really well connected, they even breathe at the same depth and at the same speed, right? So when you meet somebody who you've known for like years and years, you actually breathe at the same speed. Yeah, or proximity, how close you stand together or how far away, right? We also match that between people. Things like touching. Yeah. So when somebody is normal to pat you on the back, that's something that you can do with that person too, right? Or the way that you shake hands. I know people who shake hands with one hand, or that they shake hands and they put another hand over it, yeah, to make the handshake more strong. That's so we can match that too. And then also there's not just the words that you say, but also the tone in which you speak. Yeah. So when somebody has a tone of voice that varies a lot, right? Then you can match that. Tempo, if somebody speaks fast, it helps to match that, right? But if somebody speaks slow, it helps to slow down your speech so you match with their speed of talking. How loud people speak, you can also match this, right? Or people who use a certain word all the time, you can match those words, right? All of these things are tools that we use in order to connect with the people around us. Yeah, and all of these help us build rapport and therefore build trust. So when you guys remember about the question that Tian asked, like how do I deal with somebody who is very dominant in their conversation, who's very strong about their tone, and who's very direct about the information that they share? You can see that with the tools that we have, we can actually match that with that dominant person. right? We can speak at that same level of strength. We can speak at the same volume, and we can use the same words or the same type of language to connect with this person. Yeah? So this is how we essentially build trust between people. Now, what I always advise people is when you are going to pay attention to this, because when you start paying attention to this, you'll be amazed how easy it then becomes to connect with people who before you thought I can never connect with them. Yeah. It becomes really easy, but you need to pay attention to what they do. However, when you start to match, for example, people's gestures or facial expression, that is a good thing to do, but don't try everything at once, right? So if somebody is, smiling, using a lot of gestures and speaking very fast, don't try to do all that stuff at once, but start just with smiling, just in the way that that person smiles. Yeah? And just try to connect that way. Don't try to do fast speaking and lots of gestures, but just start with a smile, right? Make it a bit easier. So pay attention to how somebody acts and start to match that and mirror that. Yeah. Copy one or two characteristics and see if rapport builds, right? And you will notice, because at some stage you will feel more relaxed, and you also feel the other person become more relaxed because you get more into the conversation, right? Lastly, what happens is when we connect with people this way, right? We watch how they act. We connect with this by mirroring what they do. At some stage, you will see that when you start to follow people, at some stage, people will then change direction and start to follow you. When you see people starting to follow you, this is where you see that they start to trust you. Because once they start to follow you, they start also to trust what it is that you're saying. Yeah. So at that point, you have built enough rapport, you have built enough of a connection to make sure that that person trusts what you say. Yeah. So this is a very good way for us to connect with people easier, better, and faster. Do you guys have any questions about this or any thoughts about this?
Can you explain a little bit more about the rapport?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So because it's still not so clear to me that rapport is a total responsiveness. So it means you have to get engaged into the conversation or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Tan, can I ask, do you have a very good friend or a family member who you trust a lot?
Yes.
Okay, great. So can you picture that person in front of you now?
Can I picture?
Yeah, can you think about that person now?
Yes.
Okay. So when you think about talking to that person, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel and what do you do when you talk to this person?
Actually, even there are some things that we can share it with this person. Another thing we can share with another. So I think if I for a certain thing that I think I can share with that person, I will trust that they will give me a good advice, or they will agree with what I'm going to share. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. True. Yeah, true. Right. So what I'd like you to think about, Tan, is when you think about this person and when you think about talking to this person, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel? Don't think
I
about
will.
what you talk about, but how do you feel when you talk to
I
this person?
I think I feel that they will be on my side.
Okay. Yeah. So, and how does it feel when somebody is on your side?
If I'm going to share a sad news or something, I know that they will be there to comfort me, or they will give me some advice about what should I do next. Yeah.
True. Right. Yeah. So you can trust that they will react in a way that is good for you, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Very true. So, how do you feel when you talk to a person like this? Do you feel relaxed? Do you feel at ease? Or do you feel tension? Or do you feel happiness? What is it that you feel when you talk to this person?
I think it might depends on the it might depend on the story, the information that I'm going to share. Because if I'm in an upset state, and you know, sometimes if I'm not sure if this is the correct way of thinking, but sometimes when we share a good news to people, we expect them to spread the happiness. Or if we share a sad news, we expect them to react the same as we do.
Hmm.
Yes.
True. So, but what
So
I'd like you to think about, Tan, is to think just about this person. Don't think about anyone else. Just think
yes.
about this person. And also, don't think about special news. Just think about how do you normally feel, right, when you meet this person. So don't think about, oh, sharing bad news or something special. Just
Mm,
when you meet this person, right, and you talk
yes.
about everyday stuff, how do you feel?
Natural,
Yeah,
like naturally, yeah, like I just
exactly.
shared.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Natural, right? Relaxed, is that the right word? Or
yeah.
relaxed or at ease? Yeah.
Like I just shared,
Yeah.
and sometimes I don't expect them to like I just expect them to just listen to it.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And you don't even think about that, right? You just expect them to listen and to
Mm.
react to you in their natural way that you
Yes,
both feel comfortable with, correct?
yes.
Yeah, exactly. That feeling, that is rapport.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yes. So the report means that we just like there is a reaction from the person that you are talking to, something like that.
So rapport is
Yeah.
the connection that you have with the person who you talk to, and
Mm.
that connection is something
Yes.
that you both are happy with and that you both feel relaxed about. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
just
So
relax. So just
yeah. So
yeah.
well, where you're relaxed and comfortable when talking to the other person, right? And where you
Mm.
feel that you have a good connection that allows you to share things, yeah, with that person that you would not normally share with somebody else.
How about you share it with somebody, but you are not sure how they will react, and you are quite anticipating that what if they don't agree with you or something? Is
Hmm.
that report as well? Because they still react to the information, but not in the way that you want.
Hmm. True.
Um,
Is
Yeah. Winnie, you want to add in something?
I think I want to jump in a little bit. I think this is more relevant in the service, like in the customer service world, because what we do almost on a daily basis is that we're building rapport with the customer or with pretty much anyone that we're talking to.
Hmm.
So when you feel that you don't want to share certain news to someone because you don't want know how they react, what the other person must do, or if that person working in the customer service must do, is to build the rapport with you to make you feel at ease and to make you feel comfortable enough that you trust them and you share that news to them anyway.
Hmm. Yeah.
What does that make sense?
Makes total sense, Windy. And also, Tan, when it comes to sharing news with people who you don't know that well, but still that news
mm,
can be difficult, yeah,
mm,
what we as people are always doing, doesn't matter if it's customer service, doesn't matter if it's talks between people, between colleagues, doesn't matter if it's between yourself and your manager, what we are always trying to do is to build a connection with the person who we talk to so we can
mm.
share information easily. So building rapport is something that naturally as people we always try to do. However, with some people this is easier than with others. And that's why I'm going through these tips to help you build a connection with people who you talk to.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
because we always try to build rapport, we always try to build that connection with whoever we talk to.
Mm.
Yeah. But with
Yeah.
some people, it's easier than with others.
Mm.
But these steps will make it easier.
Yeah.
And in order to showcase to you how it feels to have good rapport, it helps to think of a good friend or a good family member who you trust. Because then you know what feeling you get when you have a good connection with the person who you are talking to. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Great. So I hope that clears it up a bit. And this is stuff that we need to practice, right? And that's what we are going to do in a little bit. Yeah. Let's give some examples so you guys can see, where rapport is already built, where a connection is already built. So I'm going to show you a couple of pictures. So this is the first one. So you see two people here talking. Do you think they have good rapport? Do you think they have a good connection? Yes or no? Please type it in chat. Okay, Tom thinks yes. How about the other ones? Do these two people have a good connection? Yes or no? Okay, Min thinks yes. Thank you, Nen. Thank you, Hong. Yes. How about the rest? Trump thinks no. Okay. Wendy, how about you? Tien? Some rapport, but not there yet. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. All right, guys. So what do we see here, right? So Cham, when you think no, why is that? Why do you think they don't have good rapport?
I still feel like there's like a distance during the conversations, you know.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just my feeling.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. There can be some distance, right? And is that distance you think because the guy is not smiling and the girl is smiling? Is that a
Yeah,
reason?
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. All right. Thank you, Cham. Thank you. All right. And Wendy says, well, there's some rapport, but not there yet. So Wendy, can you explain there? Where do you think there is already rapport?
So the image clearly showed that they do indeed is joining a conversation and the guy is sharing.
Hmm.
However, it's give off a feeling of like the guy still have quite several layers that he's holding off of that he um, couldn't feel comfortable enough to share or to say yet. And it looked like a therapy situation. So there's always some report because like you want to like get a connection, but at the same time you want to stay neutral so you can listen to the story from a different perspective from the teller. So
Right.
there's some report there, but there's not like all the way there.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Wendy. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Hey, guys, you see that when we look at these pictures, how much we ourselves interpret and think about what is actually going on there, even though we don't know, right? Because it could be that this is a therapy session. You're right, Wendy. Could also be that this is a guy who is explaining what he wants his interior to look like, and that lady is an architect who is taking notes to figure out what the interior of his house needs to become after she is finished with her work, with her decoration. So we don't know, right? So what we can see, right, is that there's a couple of things that these people copy from each other, right? So for example, they both have their legs crossed in the same way. That's a very clear sign of rapport, right? They are both sitting backwards in the chair, right? So their posture is both very much to the back, right? That's also a very clear sign of rapport. Also, they have open body language, both, right? The guy puts one hand next to himself and the other hand is up, right? And his body is open, right? So therefore, also it shows that they're able to trust each other. And there's good eye contact between these two. So if I would look at this picture, I would say, oh, there's a lot of rapport in this picture because they do a lot of things already the same way, right? They are already connected in many different ways. Yeah. So you see how much we do for interpretation, right? But also how much you can already see that is objectively happening between the two of them. Yeah. So how about this one? This here is where we just look at people's legs and the way that they position their legs. Do you feel that there's rapport if we just look at the legs? Yes or no? Please type it in the chat. Okay, Winnie thinks no. Okay, if just looking at the legs, it's no. Interesting. So why is that a no? Anybody wants to elaborate why they think there's no connection here?
It's not enough body language to determine whether or not they are having a rapport or they are mirroring each other. At the same time, if we look at the woman a little bit, we can see both of her hands is on one side on the on the armrest.
Mm-hmm.
So she's having quite of a close body language, which usually indicating that she's not into whatever the connection that they was having at that moment.
Okay. Okay, but we cannot see how her arms are, right? Because what she could be doing is like, having her hands like this, right? But still have like an open body language in the way that she put her hands on her leg, because we cannot see the rest of her arm. So that's
Yes.
something that also we are interpreting here, right? So if we only look at the legs, yeah, you always see that people mirror each other. That means that they actually point the legs into like a similar way across from each other. And they are doing that exactly here, right? So if I would look at this, I would say that just looking at the legs, there is definitely rapport here. So for me, it would be definitely a yes here, right? But to Wendy's point, you're right. If we cannot see the rest of how they are sitting, there might not be rapport. But if we just look at the legs, yes, there is rapport. Yeah, because they cross their legs in the same way, but in a mirrored way. You see that? And that way they show that they are kind of like in balance, right, from each other. How about these two guys, or this woman and this man in conversation? Do you think there's rapport, yes or no? Okay, yes, yes. Hey guys. Okay, also yes. Yeah. Yeah, so this one is quite clear, right? There's definitely rapport here. Because their posture, both, are completely turned towards each other, right? The girl is completely open, the guy is completely open, right? She's clearly into his story that he's telling. She's making clear eye contact, and he's very much into the conversation and the things that he's sharing with her. So there's very clear rapport here. Yeah, very good. How about this one? Is there rapport here? Yes or no? Is there a good connection? Yes or no? So yes, yeah, many people say yes. Yeah. Yeah, very good. And here, there's fairly a clear connection, right? Even though they're both not smiling, but it's quite clear that the lady in black, she's listening to the other lady very intently, who's telling her something. And also, and I think that many of you saw this, the lady in black is putting her hand on her shoulder for support, right? They're also holding their coffee cup in the same way in front of their body, right? So if you hold something in front of your body, it doesn't mean necessarily that you're closed off, because in this case, they are both doing it, right? They're both holding their coffee in the same way in front of their body. So that's also a very clear mirroring sign. It's a very clear connection, right? So well spotted, guys. Good stuff. How about this one? Is there a connection here? Yes or no? Okay, Nguyen says no. No. Thank you, Tan. How about the rest? Winnie says no. Jian says no. Okay, thank you. Huang thinks yes. Okay. So Jian, can I ask you why do you think no?
Because I think that they are in an argument. Or, yeah, so I think they don't understand each other and they're trying to defend themselves.
Okay, good point. What makes you think that they are a bit in an argument?
They seem like both speaking and not listen to each other.
Hmm. But what in the picture makes you think that they are in an argument? What do you see him or her do?
Their gestures.
Their gesture.
She's pointing at him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, very well spotted. Yeah. So because he's like putting her hand up, right? She's pointing, like she's very clearly communicating something. So also she has one hand across her belly, right? So she's covering herself off a little bit,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah. So these are two signs that say, hey, she's not agreeing, not totally anyways, on what's happening here. Could be an argument, we don't know, but she's definitely not agreeing on something. Yeah. So yeah, very well spotted, guys. Good stuff. Also, because we cannot see their faces clearly, right? Could also just be like a very hefty conversation where they actually are in rapport, right? And we just picked a moment where they're not, so we don't know. But when we look at this picture, they're probably not connecting that well. Yeah, good stuff. How about this one? Is there a connection, yes or no? Okay, Tian thinks no, Nguyen says yes. How about the rest of you guys? Yes, Tan, okay. Cham thinks yes as well. There's a connection. Can't tell. Yeah, good one, Wendy, because it might be difficult if we cannot see their face. Yeah, very good point. Yeah, Huang thinks yes. Okay. So guys, again here, right? Let's look at what we can see them do, right? What kind of gesture or what kind of messages are people sending in the way that they stand? Yeah. So let's look at the guy first. The guy is crossing his legs. Crossing your legs is a way of protecting yourself. Yeah, which means that he in some way is closing himself off to what that lady is telling him. Yeah. So he is in some way protecting himself. So that suggests that they don't really have a good connection yet. Yeah. The second thing is when you look at the guy's posture, he's standing with his side, yeah, to the woman. Yeah. So he stands with his side to the woman. And the woman stands pretty much more like fully towards him. So that means that this guy is trying to disconnect a bit. You know, he's building rapport, but the woman is trying to get more rapport to him than he is sharing with her. Yeah, so his posture is off from hers. Yeah, so that also shows that there's not a very good connection yet. Yeah. Also, the gestures that they both use are very different. You know, she is using gestures there. He's more like lower in his body with his gestures, right? So these signs indicate that there's probably not a very good connection. They could be like in a very heated argument, right? That could be good. But if we look at purely their gestures and the way that they stand, they might not be in very good rapport. Yeah? How about these two people? Yes or no? This one should be fairly easy. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, they're in very good rapport, right? That's very easy to see. Same gestures, good eye contact, both smiling, right? Simple. How about this one? No, absolutely not, right? Both different posture. The woman is clearly closing off. They're both not smiling. And you see actually the woman who has like thin lips and her brows are down, right? Which basically shows like, hey, I'm not, connected. And most importantly, she's avoiding her eyes. She's pointedly looking somewhere else. Yeah, so that's very clearly not a connection. How about these two? Connection, yes or no? Not really. Okay. Ish. Yeah, true. Not yet. Very good wind. Yeah, and very good windy. Yeah, and very good tan. Yeah, because these people are just getting to know each other. There is starting to be a connection, but they're both a little bit hesitant. That's why they are both in their posture a little bit to the side. Yeah, when they would be both like this, there's more of a connection and they really want to talk. But in the beginning, people usually turn their posture a little bit away to not be too much committed yet to the conversation. Yeah, so these guys are just starting. Yeah, so very well spotted there, guys. And lastly, these two guys are talking, right? And in this case, it's much more about the language that they use, right? That you see is very much the same. So in this case, is there a connection with the language? Yes or no? Yes, there we go. Yeah, absolutely, right? So here, these guys are making a connection by using the same words and the same language. Yeah, so very well spotted. Good stuff. So, guys, these are just some telltale signs that give you an idea if there's a connection between people, yes or no, right? And by looking at this more closely and by practicing this, we become better communicators because we use this in order to build trust between ourselves and others. Yeah. So I want you guys to practice this, and then we go for a break afterwards. Yeah. But I want you guys to practice this with a very simple activity for comfort food. Yeah. So I want you to think about food that you like, food that you like to eat, or food that has a special meaning for you, right? Maybe it's from your region, or maybe it's something that you ate on a special occasion, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you into pairs in a breakout room, and I want you to discuss your favorite food with your buddy and explain to the other person why this is your favorite food and what significance this food has for you. And then during the conversation, so I need you guys both, if you can, to turn on your cameras. During the conversation, try and connect with your body when you're listening. Yeah, verbal and non-verbal tools. So see how that person is connecting. Look at their facial expressions. Look at the way that they do eye contact. Yeah, look at their gestures. And see if you can connect in the conversation that they have about comfort food with your body. Yeah, so connect to that person. Do that for about 2-3 minutes, and then switch roles. Yeah, where you can then share your favorite comfort food, and then your body will try and connect with you. I know this is a bit tricky when we use Zoom, yeah, and our camera, but we'll try it anyway because we also need to build connections over video calling, which is what we are doing here. Okay? So with that, I'm going to ask you guys to talk about comfort food. I'll put you guys in breakout rooms in pairs. So yeah, just 5 minutes, try it out and see how you do. Okay? So good luck, guys. I'll see you in 5 minutes. Enjoy. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. All right. So, what was that like to talk about comfort food? What were your experiences?
I think like among the discussion, even though that um, like among the discussion, we can see the connection, then the rapport between us, because we are quite engaged into what we are talking to our partner. Yes.
Okay, good stuff. So, what could you see when you were talking to your partner, Tan? So, when you were talking to Tien, what could you see happening? What tools did you use? What maybe gestures or facial expression? Is there anything that stood out for you?
I think the smile, like when we say something humorous, then we can we can see like the smile on our face.
Mm,
Yes,
yeah,
yes, and the laughter. Yeah.
yeah. Smiling and laughter, very good one. Always very strong way of building rapport. Nice. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. How about the rest? How about you, Cham?
Actually, we share the same interest about one of the very famous food in Vietnam, um, cup noodle from the middle of Vietnam.
Hmm.
So we found that that's the thing that we miss a lot during the lockdown time, and then yeah, actually it's easier to build the rapport by sharing the same interest.
Mm, true, right? Yeah. So you can see here that I picked this topic because typically all of us have a type of food that we like and that we easily like to talk about, right? So and I picked a topic like that because when it's easy to talk about something that you're connected to, then it's also easy to build rapport, right? Because then you don't really need to think about what you need to talk about, but you more talk about, or then you can pay more attention to how somebody else is talking about it. Would you agree?
Yep.
Hmm. Okay. So yeah. So Hung, I saw that you're unmuted too. You want to add something, or what did you notice yourself?
No, I agree with Chum and you because we talk about the same favorite food. Yeah, during the lockdown. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Nice, nice. And Hung, how did you see that there was a connection between you and Cham?
Uh, we we don't turn on the camera, but we saw we laugh and we agree with the others. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm.
True, right? And then when you don't turn on the camera, what the rapport that you build then is by your voice,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So then you
Yeah.
can actually
Agree. Yeah.
speak. Yeah, there you go. And you speak in the
Mhm.
same volume, or maybe you
Yeah.
speak in the same speed, right? Or maybe you use the same words. What's how did you guys connect?
I think because we agree the favorite food. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, so for you was very much about the food, right? But it seemed that
The
the
laugh and
food and
the
the
voice. Yeah.
there you go.
And the
Yeah,
word. Yeah.
nice. Yeah, so the laughing again there, right, helps a lot, and using the same words or the same, in this case, the same taste also, I think, right, for favorite food. So those things help, right? They build a very good connection. Great. Thanks for sharing. How about you, Nguyen and Wendy? What was that like for you guys?
It was quite lovely. We also didn't turn on our camera, but we catch the report through the accents and the pitch and the tone. Like just like everybody said, like the giggles. But I also noticed that the food that we chose both have meaning to us. That kind of like having a homey feeling whenever we
talk about it. So the expression when sharing the story related to the food is definitely there, and it's definitely received by the listener. It was a great quick gossip, and I still need recommendation for restaurant when we didn't have time for you to answer that.
Yeah, I'll message you later.
There you go. Nice. Good stuff. Yeah. Thanks, Wendy, for sharing. Yeah. Yeah. So guys, this is again, right? This is us going to the gym and practicing, right? When we build rapport or a connection with the people and we cannot see them, right? We use our voice. And, when you learn to use your voice and project it, but also to connect with the voice on the other end of the line, then you truly become an even better communicator because you start to connect with how fast somebody speaks, right? Or how slow or how loud, right? So when you start to connect with that too, it becomes even easier to build connections, yeah? And therefore trust. So good stuff, good practicing. Let's jump into a quick break. Yeah. So it's to the hour. So let's meet at 10 past. Okay. So 10 past 4, I think that is for you guys, right? 10 past 4 in the afternoon. We come back here. Yeah. And we go to our next topic, which is about improving clarity in our online communications. Okay. So I'll set the timer for like 12 minutes or so, and I will see you guys at 10 past 4. Okay. Enjoy your breaks. right, folks. So that was our break already. I hope you enjoyed your break a bit. Let me know if you're back by sending me a quick thumbs up. In the meantime, I'm setting a quick timer to make sure that I keep track of all of that. Hey, thank you, Jin. Thank you, Cham. Thank you, Tan. All right, good stuff. So, roll back. So, when we talk about building rapport and building a connection, that is of course things that we do with our communication tools that we have ourselves, right? So our voice and our tone, but also of course our gestures and our body language. This works best, of course, when you meet face to face. Now, a number of these also work when you do video calling. But lastly, the part where we are communicating by speech, as you can see, we can also connect there on different levels. But because so much of our conversation now is also over text, there's actually a lot of misunderstandings created by the way that we send messages and the language that we use in our messages. And I want to, jump a little bit deeper into how to look at the messages that we send to each other to make sure that we also there improve clarity. So if you remember last week's workshop, I think I shared this quote. Do you guys remember this one? Just send me a quick thumbs up if you remember this one from last week. Yep. Thank you, Jin. Thank you, Cham, Tan, Win. Okay, good stuff. Yeah, so this one was an interesting one, right? I know that you believe you understand what you think I said, but I'm not sure you realize that what you heard is not what I meant. Again, yeah, quotes from a US government official, that never really helps. But the trick here is like that just by using this language, we create a lot of unknowns and a lot of terms that are used in here that are very vague. Yeah. So what I want to focus on here is something that is called a meta model, and the meta model comes from NLP. NLP is basically a communications technology, so to speak. It's called neuro-linguistic programming, and it operates on the belief that you're able to change your mood, change your mindset, and that of others by the way that you communicate with others, and especially with the way that you use the language that you use. And the meta model is basically a way to critically look at the way that you use your language with, of course, the focus to improve it. So it basically consists of like 4 pretty simple rules, right? Because we challenge communication into clarity. So when somebody tells us something or writes to us something that can be interpreted in different ways, then we need to teach ourselves to challenge the other person a bit to make sure that you get to understand what they really mean. Yeah. But then what do we look for? What kind of challenges do we bring? So first of all, we need to challenge, how do I say that? Basically these words that are very demanding, right? So things that must or can't be done. Yeah. So for example, when somebody says, you must always finish your vegetables when you're eating, right? You can challenge it by saying, well, what will happen if I don't, right? Or things like, or what stops you from eating your vegetables, right? That's also a way to challenge it. Things like can't, I can't be asked to do that, right? Or you can't do that to somebody else, right? Well, what will happen if I do that, right? What happens then? So challenge these, and these terms we need to challenge because they're very demanding, right? They put us in a position where it seems that we cannot get out of, right? And that's why we need to challenge it. Yeah. Secondly, specify all nouns. Yeah. If there is a noun that people use that is unclear, right, then you need to specify it, right? So for example, if we say something like colleagues need to watch their language. Yeah. Then we can say, well, a noun is unclear as our colleagues. Which colleagues exactly? All of our colleagues, or just some, or just one, right? Who are we talking about here? Yeah. So specify that. Specify the verbs. Yeah. So when people again say colleagues need to watch their language, you also need to say watch their language. What specifically in their language should they watch? Yeah. So we need to specify the verb here to make sure that we understand really what is meant. And lastly, we need to challenge all or nothing terms, right? So anything around never or always, all the time, absolutely or totally or no one or everyone, right? All these all or nothing terms are also quite dangerous in our communication because we cannot include everyone, right? When you say something like, I don't know, all children need to go to school. We say all, like really all children? Are we also talking about, babies of like 9 months old, right? Do they also need to go to school, right? So those kind of like all or nothing terms we need to challenge. And we do that because then we can ask the sender to specify what really is the point here. What is really the point here, right? And we need the sender to specify this in order to communicate, clearly with each other. So some examples, right? For example, if I throw in the sentence, people should always do what they are being told, then words like people, which people? Always, again, an all or nothing term, right? They, who is they, right? And are being told, what are they being told, right? So here we specify the verb, we specify an all or nothing term, and we specify the noun. Yeah? I believe in freedom for all. Okay, freedom, what freedom are we talking about? All, what is that? All people, all animals, all men, all women, all, again, right? Specify. Another one, they must be ready or there will be hell to pay. Yeah? So they, who is they, right? Must be ready. What does being ready mean? And what is hell to pay? What happens? What will happen to them if they're not ready, right? This one is also fun, especially in organizations. Management needs to look closer at OKR progress follow-up. Yeah, and for people who don't know what OKRs are, these are the same, or like these are basically the way that you can set your goals for a quarter or for a year. So here as well, we need to specify these things. Management, right? Which parts of the management needs to look closer? Needs to look closer at what? Yeah, and what is to look closer? And at OKR progress follow-up. Okay, so what is that OKR progress, and how do we follow up on this? Yeah, so there's a lot of unclear stuff here. Another one, I can't be asked to do that. Yeah, again, one of those, denying terms essentially, right? So those must or can't, right, terms. So guys, as you see, these sentences can be explained in multiple ways. So the better we become at being specific, the better we communicate and the better we send. So what I want you guys to do, and we'll do this in groups, and I will give both the groups that we did before, I will give you guys these assignments, right? So I want you to look at the 3 examples below, and together I want you to look at each of these 3, and for each of these 3, I want you to identify the unclear terms in each of these sentences. So in case 1, case 2, and case 3. And then for each of these examples, I would like you guys to write or give me a brief explanation how you would reply to the sender who sent you this to make sure that you know what they exactly mean. Yeah, so for example, for the first one, what you do is you read that sentence together. Together you look at what are the unclear terms for this question. And then together, I want you guys to formulate a response to the person who sent this to you. Yeah, to make sure that you start to understand what that person specifically means. Okay, and then for each of these 3 cases. So I will share this to you guys over chat as well, so that'll be easier to then take through. And then I'll put you in groups so you can discuss it together. And then we'll take about 15 minutes for you guys to discuss and to write a response. Okay. So let me do a quick stop, and then I will send it to you guys here, right? There we go. And I need to make small changes to this one. There. Okay. There we go. So let me divide you in groups again, and then we are ready to go. There we go. Okay, guys, so the rooms are open. Good luck. And I'll pop my head around the corner in a little bit to see how you guys are doing. Okay? And you will have the instructions also in your chat window.
a colleague, like a staff might get a lot of assignments assigned by their managers. So clarify about the assignment first.
Yeah.
Yes, and incident reports. Which incidents? Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah. Not
Conclusion is
details.
easy.
It's a
Yes.
generally. Yeah.
And the conclusion is easy because if they can clarify about the assignment and the incident reports, they just conclude it. Yeah. So the conclusion is not a big deal. Just clarify about the assignment and the incident reports first. Yeah. Okay.
Also, usually
You
when
guys are doing
when
okay, I
someone-
think, right?
Yeah.
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 Yes.
Okay, good. I'll leave you to it.
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Hi, Coach.
Hi guys. Just checking how you guys are doing. Any questions
We're
or?
doing, yeah, we're doing very well. I think we already complete the assignments.
You're already set? Good stuff. Then let me check how the other group is doing, and then we will come
Okay.
back to the room in a little bit. Yeah. Thanks.
Sure.
Cool. Cheers.
Or the conclusion of that assignment, then we just like a wrap up.
You mentioned the conclusion is a result of the incident report.
Yeah. It could be like we can ask the people who give us this message to clarify the conclusion, like Wendy said, which kind of conclusion, like what do they expect, or should we just wrap up what we finish when we finish our assignment with a conclusion? Yes.
Yeah, because conclusion can be a summary of that report.
Yes.
Or the conclusion could be some information that we take from that report. So that is still too vague of a statement.
Yes.
Okay, guys, 2 more minutes, yeah, and then we'll wrap up. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Great.
So.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. All right. So easy, hard, something in between. What was that like for you guys?
The last one is probably the hardest.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's the most content, right? Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Very true. So how about you guys in group one? So Wendy and Hung and Tan. Um, what were the unclear terms for the first case?
We think that we have concluded on this message is that usually when we come to this sentence, we usually have like some previous paragraph on the email body or in the email thread already. So like we might discuss, two people might discuss more about the Mueller proposal, or one person who will like give the other their opinions, and then they will conclude that, can I guess your thoughts on the Mueller proposal? Like they ask for the advice or the opinion of the other side. But however, if we just receive one code like this in the single email, we will, like the person who received this will need to get like track again all of the email threads before, or might look for some other additional information before they get back to the person who sent them this email for clarification on the about the thoughts. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that will be a good way to go back to that, right? To the previous email thread, if there is one, right? And
Yeah.
to see what's going on. So what are the unclear terms here then, Ms. Tan? What is
It's about
unclear?
unclear about the thoughts, what they are, what like I said, if we just have like one sentence, we will question what is the thoughts that they are asking, they are expecting us to provide to them. What
Yeah.
is about the thoughts? Yes, like our advice or our opinion or our feedback or anything.
Yeah.
Yes, they have to be clarified. They have to be more specific on that.
Okay.
Yes.
And what else is unclear about this sentence?
I might about the Mueller proposal.
Exactly. What is that Miller proposal, right? What is it?
Yes, what is it?
Yeah,
Like if we don't
exactly.
have any other information, then we might question what is that? Yes.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah. So how about group two? So Nguyen and Tien and Tam. For the second one, what were the unclear terms in the second message?
So, the unclear terms in this message is your assessment, the incident report, and the conclusion.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
uh,
Exactly.
I would like to clarify. So, which assessment that you are asking for, and you are talking about, and what kind of the incident report,
Hmm.
the purpose of the report,
Yeah.
and about the conclusion.
Hmm.
So why do you need a conclusion? And that will help us to find out a conclusion that fit the need.
Hmm. Yeah, and maybe also what kind of conclusion are you looking for? What does the
Yeah,
conclusion need to have so we can make a decision,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
right.
very good, very good. All right, thank you. So team number one again. How about the third message? What are the unclear terms there?
Winnie,
I,
would you like to? Yeah, Chị Hương.
yeah,
Yes.
I think unclear term here is next month. It is a not specific the time.
Hmm.
Maybe it's a specific date. And the second one is the influential campaigns. It is maybe in last year we have a many, and we the definition of influential campaigns.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Most influential campaigns. Yeah.
I think the best in performing product, it is clear. I don't think it is an unclear item.
Okay. So how do you know if something is a best performing product?
Well, because usually for best performing product, it's an actual object, and we probably would have data on it. So
Okay.
when we're asked, we were able to go back, look through report or database, and look and see which one, like which product that we produce has the best performance. Whereas for the term influential, it's very hard to determine something is influential until it's very out there, or like it went viral.
Right.
Otherwise, you don't really know, or you couldn't really tell if something is influential or not, because it might be influential for a certain group of people or certain age, a certain demographic, but not to the others. But for best performing products, we do have database on that. Like, okay, thanks to our ad, this product has sell certain amounts of products, blah, 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 compared to which quarter, or like within last year, we have several ad, and this specific product that we have ad for, like, make the best sell, for example. So we can pick out specifically which is the best performing product, but not the influential campaign.
Right. Right. But then again, is when I think about best performing products, that can also mean different things, because it could mean how much they've sold. Sure, that's a good performance. But also maybe they say, hey, we wanted to have a large revenue, not a large profit margin, but a large revenue, right? And that's a different product. Or it might be like we have a new product that we want to put into the market, right? So which is our most successful new product, that is into the market. So when you look at the product and the data, as you say, that you have about it, you can also interpret best performing product in different ways, right? So what part of the performance are you looking for in this case, right? Sales might seem obvious, but it could also be other criteria, that are needed to show the best performing product.
Okay.
Would you agree? Yeah. So basically, again, right, this is all our own interpretation. And as long as there are terms in the message that are unclear, we need to specify this, right? And when you and this is the funny thing about this type of communication, because some things, when you work in a certain team, some things seem already quite clear about what we need for this, or how things work. And there is certain language that is used in every teams that allows us to automatically interpret correctly what's going on. Yeah. But when you usually the confusion comes when you are starting to send messages not within your own team, but in teams outside of it. Because then you sometimes talk about different terms or different assumptions, right, that people make, for the things that you ask them to do or the things that you ask them to look at. Yeah. So it helps for us to focus on how to clarify this communication. Yeah. So the ones that you highlight here are really good, right? This one is also the thing you're reporting, so what does the report need to state for that new marketing manager to make his decision, right? And also, he's coming to the office next month. Yeah. When exactly is he coming, right? How long is he going to stay? All that kind of stuff. Yeah. So again, a lot of stuff in here that might need to get clarified, right? Okay. Very good. So what, how would I say that? What message would you guys send to, let's say, the last message that you received? So if you look at the third situation, what message would you send to them, team number 2?
So You mean to clarify the information?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I will ask him. Actually, we also question that's where does he come from and what
Very good.
he's looking for.
Very
Yeah.
good.
So,
Yeah.
similar to the team two, we have the question for the campaigns. Which one is the most influential campaigns that he mean? So in which area the campaign's purpose and the best performing product, like you said, we have many criteria to identify the best performing product. So we question that term too, and also the report. He will select it based on our reporting. So what kind of the report, what information that he wants in the report. Yeah, so that's our questions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, dear Mr. X, thank you for your email. Sounds like you're coming to our office next week or next month. We're happy to provide the information you're looking for, but can I ask that you clarify a few things? You know, one, when exactly are you coming? Two, what do you consider the most influential campaigns, etc., etc. Right? So when stuff like that is, when you get a message like that, it helps to also bullet point, specifically
Yeah.
what it is that you're looking for. Yeah. So it's much easier for this person also to follow up and say, oh well, here it is, right? So yeah. So yeah, very good, and good that you guys pick up on the same things. So thank you for doing that. Now let's bring it a little bit closer to home, because what I'd like you guys to do is, again, in your same groups, I want you to check your own emails. Yeah, so I want you to go to your email inbox and find the last email you sent, but you can also pick an email that you received from somebody else. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, so it can be an email that you sent yourself or an email that you received from somebody else that had maybe meeting notes or company updates or central messages, right? And then check this email again, as well, against unclear words, and then also count the amounts of words that the receiver might misinterpret, right? So if you think about an email that you sent earlier on and you read through it and you think, hey, I'll send this to a different team, which things in my email might not be clear? Yeah. So take some time in your group to go to your individual inbox. And when you found something in the group where you say, hey, this is a good one to start screening, yeah, then together as a group, look at the email and pick out the unclear terms, right? And don't worry, the only thing that I'd like you to do is just to count the amount of terms that might be misinterpreted, right? So just come back with we had an email that we sent and there were 10 things that might be misinterpreted, right? Or there might be 2 things that might be misinterpreted. Yeah? Just as a quick exercise to see, hey, how objective can I look at my own emails or at the emails within RMIT? Okay? So let me send the instructions again over the chat, and then you have that in your inbox as well, or in your chat messages. It should make it a bit easier. Okay, there you go. So again, the same rooms, guys. Let's take 5 minutes. Yeah, we don't have to take a lot of time here, but just 5 minutes, pick an email and discuss it together. Okay? So good luck and see you in a few minutes. Hello, everyone, and welcome back again. Good stuff. So this is always a fun one, right? To figure out a good email that that you guys can all have a look at. So how did you guys do in room one? So Huang and Han and Wendy, did you find a good email, and how many unclear words did you find?
So it's funny that even though we're in a different department, it's pretty clear that our department or our manager trained us very well, because most of our email are very close to the template needed. So whichever information is required for whatever situation, we already have a template for it, and we just update the accurate information to fit the person. However, we we figured out the same situation where the clarification that we were asked from students weren't, most of the time, weren't actually clarification, but rather than the student did not read the full email and ask the question that we have already provided the answer for. So what we usually did is some of us reply to the email saying that please refer to my previous email that I sent on date and time. Some of us attach the previous copy, some maybe as a PDF version, so that the person can easily find information. Or for me, I would still say that please check the previous email, but I usually copy and paste the previous email into this one, but with highlight or bold line to the question that they ask, so they can draw that eye to quicker.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Good point, right? And it's good that you already have a number of templates, especially with email communication to students, because that usually the students usually need to receive a lot of information to process everything and to to attend their classes and all these kind of things. But the fact also that you're noticing that many students reply to emails that you've sent, right? That also sends a bit of a message, right? Because that shows that what you sent is usually quite lengthy and that students need to take the time for that. But lots of time they just don't take all the time to read all the information, right? So yeah, so there's also a need for you to be at least aware of that, or to have a process to make that quicker, right? And to reply to the students quicker. What you described sounds good. Yeah. Okay, great. So in short, it seems that you guys didn't find any words that had to be clarified, huh, in your email communication to students?
We think that we already provide the student all of the information that's in compliance with our policy and according to their request. So it's up to them for it's their responsibility to read through our email and pick out the information that they would like to know. And if they are unclear, they might question us again, and we are willing to rephrase the unclear parts to them in another way. Yeah, so they might get it better. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Tan, for adding that. Good stuff. So how about our second room? So Nguyen and Tien and Cham, what did you find for email, and how many unclear words did you find? When?
Technically, we actually working on one of email that I sent to the student yesterday regarding the internship. meeting with their work supervisor, because every semester when we send out a student to the company, we would like to meet with their supervisor in order to listen for feedback and comments on their performance in the company. So yesterday I sent out an email to the student to instruct them how to collaborate in order to book a meeting.
Right.
To support meeting, booking a meeting. So in that email, and the very first sentence, I sent to student, I say, dear interns, students, but we all agree that we should specify more specific, like intern student from which school, because within RMIT we have like different school, 3 different schools, so we should specify that point. And we also mentioned about the meeting with supervisors, so it's better to clarify like what supervisors or what type of supervisor.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So you found basically 2 unclear terms, right? Yeah. So the school and the supervisor. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Good stuff. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. So these exercises are more like sanity checks, right? That we do before we send out our messages. And sometimes it feels sometimes that you're a bit of your own school teacher, right? When you go through, basically when you go through like sending the information to people that you want. But basically, if we want to influence people around us in our messaging, right? Emails and also conversations, then a good combination of these things is that, well, as we mentioned before, people only remember the most intense moment. So when you create a moment that allows them for a bit of like an intense emotion, that is the stuff that people remember, right? And you can typically do that best at the last part of your email, yeah, because that's the part that people will remember. The last thing, like I said, is what is important, yeah. So make sure that the last part is always ended with something that is a high note, yeah. And by high note, I mean something that makes people feel valued, but also where you say something true and positive. Yeah. So, sorry, Nguyen, I'll mute you for a second because there's some background noise there. So when, for example, you end an email with, with something true, right, and positive, that's typically what people remember and really appreciate, and therefore they will remember the information that's in there easier. Yeah. So, for example, it was great to meet you, and I'm very much looking forward to work together on this project. That's something that's simple, but also true and positive, that people will remember. Yeah. And this way, the way that you influence people in your emails will become stronger. Yeah, because you use all the right tools to push for, helping people to be influenced by you, and that's what helps in getting things done. Lastly, never end an email with a parting shot. Yeah, this is an important warning. A parting shot is basically something bad that you say, and then you close the email. Some people do that when there's, for example, a conflict that has gone up really high, right? And then at the end, they want to, give people a bit of a stab or give people a bit of a bad feeling. And that's never a good thing to do, right? So whether it's over chat or over email, right? Never end an email with a parting shot. And that way you'll always influence people in a positive way going forward when you use these and apply these rules. All right, so let's jump to our last topic, which is communicating for maximum effect on our online tools. So when we look around, and I'm sure that RMIT has one as well, is that many companies now and also student organizations and universities, they follow a netiquette, right? Which basically means that it's like a set of rules, essentially, of how to act online, with our online tools and our automated tools, right? They call it netiquette, like etiquette, but then online. So some examples here, right, can be, don't send messages in all caps, right? Speak in a normal volume over the phone. Respect people's privacy, yeah. So don't ask for stuff that you shouldn't be asking for unless it's really needed. Sending spam is always a no-no, right? But still, some people still kind of like send it on to focus this, right? So make sure that you only send messages for people who have asked for this, right, or need to be informed about this. And also, just like, when you meet people normally, it really helps to keep an open mind for giving, but also receiving feedback. Because this way, we'll communicate much more effectively towards everyone who is around there. Now, because we do so much stuff on video conferencing, I wanted to focus a bit more on what we do in video conferencing and how we can communicate there using our nonverbal but also voice tone communication skills. Yeah, again, because we use this stuff so much over the last couple of months, right? So how do we do this well? Well, when we want to communicate effectively and we want to use our nonverbal communication skills, 3 main things we need to look at. The first thing is posture. Yeah, so it helps that we are, a little bit away from, from the monitor, and that we can show the posture that we have to show that people are included. Yeah. Our voice, of course, is really important to use, so I'll deep dive into that in a little bit. And also the hand gestures that we use will help us communicate more effectively. So first of all, posture. I know that quite a few people who do online meetings, when everybody has their camera off, find it very difficult because you don't know what's happening with the people who are listening, right? That's why it usually helps a lot to have the camera on. But still, doing this stuff online makes many people, especially when presenting, a little bit uncomfortable, right? And maybe unconfident. And an easy exercise, to become more confident is actually use an exercise, and that sounds maybe funny, but it's called the Superman pose. And the Superman pose is basically a very simple thing. So basically, we stand like Superman, right? So we stand with our shoulders back, our arms on our hips, right? And we tilt our head up like this. And just applying or just putting that pose towards ourselves makes us already feel better. It's very funny how we can change our posture, and because of that, we instantly feel better. So what I tell people who are nervous before an online meeting, I always tell them, go to the bathroom, go into one of the stalls, and then stand like Superman, for 90 seconds. That's all. And you come out and you already feel better. It sounds funny, but it really works. Yeah. The other part is about eye contact. So when you do online meetings like this, right, it helps to also include the people in that meeting by looking into the camera every once in a while. Not all the time like this, because that makes people feel uncomfortable. But when you're, tilting your vision towards the camera and look around what's going on, but then make sure that you, from time to time, look in the camera directly to give the participants the idea that you're there, right? That helps them very much to be more connected to what you're doing. Then hand gestures. So hand gestures are very important because they actually enforce the messages that you want to tell people, right? So when you use nonverbal hand signals, they're 12 to 13 times more important and powerful than the accompanying words. And a very funny way to look at this is TED Talks, right? So anybody ever watched any TED Talks? Put up your hand if you ever watched TED Talks. Because I really like the TED Talks, right? So Tan, she watches a few ones, it seems. Yeah. Okay. So Tan, you and me are the only one. Oh, Nguyen as well. Okay, thank you, Nguyen, for sharing. Yeah. So basically, when we watch TED Talks, there's a very funny thing that's going on, right? Because just watch this. Every TED Talk that you watch always starts like this. Hello, everyone. It's great that you're all here. My name is such and such, and I'm here to share with you 3 important things about intergalactic space travel, something like that. And very typical things that each of these speakers use is these very strong nonverbal signals, like these gestures that allow them to present more confidently, right? And they do that by using three when they say three, and pointing to themselves when they talk about themselves, right? And by talking about, the vast space when they talk about intergalactic travel. All these things paint a picture in our head that help them tell their story better, right? So that's why hand gestures are so important when we, present through video conferencing. Yeah, also video conferencing. So our last part then is our voice. How do we use that best? Yeah, and the best way to talk is to have a carefree and upbeat voice. So you basically talk about, everything is fine. It's a nice day, beautiful sunshine. The world is lovely. That's basically the way that you want to talk to people, because that's the easiest way for people to connect with you, right? Then when you have that nice and upbeat voice, then you connect your gestures with the voice that you have, and then you continue, right? Lastly, then, to make sure that you create more connection with your audience when you're doing a video call, is ask people questions. Yeah. The best way to make sure that people are connected to the call that you're doing is that not that they cannot do anything else, but that they're at least focused on what's happening on the screen in front of them. Yeah. So we need to ask questions, and we need to ask people to be connected to what it is that we are doing, to make sure that we can send our message in the best way, and they can also share their messages in the best way. So how do we do that? Well, some rules when you're doing an online meeting. First, ask people to turn on their webcam. Yeah, so you can actually see the responses. So when you do that, put 50% of your energy in the voice that you set. Yeah, so put a lot of energy in your voice. So you vary your voice, you have good volume, you make breaks every once in a while, just to make sure that you keep people's attention. Then put the other 50% of your facial expressions and your gestures. Because these are the things that when your camera is on, people can see. And that way as well, they will stay connected, or it's easier for them to stay connected to what it is that you're saying and what you're trying to present. If you sit a little bit away from the screen, that helps too, because people see your posture more. And use a presentation and share your video up front, if you want already people to connect to what you're going to tell them during the meeting. Last thing, smile. Again, here, connecting with people here, usually smiling is a very easy way to make that connection, because people will still see that when they look at you on the screen, and it'll affect them in a positive way as they see, as they see you present and see you do what you do. So, because we have done so many virtual meetings, I wanted to share a couple of activities that you can do with your team or with the people who you're meeting with. And this is basically to make sure that you can keep people connected, either in your team or outside of it. And a few examples are icebreakers, and we're going to practice these in a little bit, right? So icebreakers are great because these are ways that allow us to, just before the meeting, give everybody in the meeting literally 30 seconds to share something about themselves, right? So this way they feel connected. This way we learn something more about everybody in the meeting. And also, it activates people, right? Because otherwise they're passively sitting and watching the presentation. But when you can activate people with icebreakers, they're going to be more connected to what it is that is happening. Chat roulette is nice, right? This is another way that that you can actually randomly connect one person in the meeting to somebody else. You do a breakout room, and then people chat, and they talk about something that is on their mind lately, right? Something generic. Virtual socials are great. These are basically things where, for example, on a Friday you wear something funny, or on a Monday you wear a weird hat, or like on Wednesday you have a suit on, something like that, right? This way you create a theme for different days of the week or for different activities that you do online together. Active Zoom is great. Active Zoom basically means while I'm doing the Zoom meeting or the Teams meeting, I am walking around outside on the campus to make sure that I still keep moving, right? That I still keep my body healthy. Deliveries are great. These allow us to actually send, maybe some presents or some other goods to people's house when they work from home a lot. And learning circles are great to connect again one person to somebody else in the organization, but with the focus that these two people will learn something about what their specific job is about. Again, here is a good way to get to know more people in the organization. Lastly, emotional check-ins. This is something I most of the time do, no matter where I do a training or a meeting. Yeah, because especially in these times when we've been sitting at home quite a bit, it helps us to ask people like, how are things? How are you doing? Right? How are things going? And for people then to share like, hey, it's going okay, or yeah, well, having a bit of a less day because such and such has happened, right? And of course, as a meeting, as somebody who runs the meeting, it helps to also share something then about yourself, right? So people know what there is going on as well, and that it's okay to share this kind of stuff. So all these things can be used to make our virtual meetings a little bit more spicy, to make them a little bit more interactive, right? And focused. With these meetings, always for me, the CAR principle, right? For me, the CAR principle is first, whether, when you can, always ask people to turn on their camera, right? I know that in your case, sometimes we're sitting at home, other people are walking around, we're sitting at our desk, or, other colleagues are running. So it's not always possible to turn on the camera, but ask people to do it if they can. Secondly, activities. Now make sure that you add activities, even just a small one, to each of the virtual meetings that you do so people feel connected. And R is responses. Yeah, so responses to ensure that people are connected. So actively ask people for responses or actively ask people to participate. Yeah, so to make people feel connected and activated during during the meeting itself. So with that, I want to run an icebreaker activity. And what I'd like to do here is, because we are with not a very large group, so what I'd like to do is I'd like to run an icebreaker. And after that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide you guys into one group where you can practice your icebreaker yourself. So I'll step out of the group, then I'll just observe, right? But the icebreaker that I'd like to run, yeah, is something that I would like one of you guys then to run as somebody who runs the meeting. Yeah, and this is just for that particular person to actively practice running an icebreaker during a meeting. Yeah, and I'll share a few icebreakers later on. Yeah, so you can pick the one that you would like to run. But basically the icebreaker that I'd like to run with you guys today is something favorite on your desk. Yeah? So let's see that my meeting starts. And my meeting is going to be about, I don't know, the weekly meeting to share a reporting. So what I'm going to do is like, okay, guys, it's nice to meet you. Good afternoon. Welcome to the meeting again. So let's do a quick what is on your desk icebreaker, right? So what the purpose here is look around your desk and pick one thing that you feel connected to or that is important to you that is on your desk. And so what I found is this one, right? This is my, as you can maybe see, my Apple water jug, right? I got this at the time that I was still working at Apple. And one of my colleagues was very adamant, very enthusiastic about, being good for nature and good for health. And he said, well, we are using all these plastic bottles that we throw away. I want Apple to sponsor these steel, very high quality types of water jugs so we can fill them with water ourselves, have them on our desk, and use those going forward. And for me, this one is really nice because it still reminds me of the time I worked there, and I like my colleagues from there. I remember them in a good way. But also, this thing is also in a very good, it's in a very good quality. So I took it on travels with me over the last couple of years. Wherever I went, this thing came with me. which was really nice. So this one has some special memory for me because it's been everywhere and also because it started from a good purpose and for a good cause. Yeah, so that's my order jog, something that is important on my desk. And then I ask everybody else, guys, please, if you can, turn on your camera and show me something on your desk that holds value to you. Yeah, so if you guys, where you can turn on your camera, look around your desk and take something and share it with us that holds value to you. Einwin, good to see you. Oh, you have to unmute. Tell us.
Oh, why am I the first person? Oh no. Can you see me? I can't see myself. So.
Yes, I can see.
Oh yeah, here. Okay, so I want to show you this. It's a mug, and on the mug it say "Mom." So yeah, my husband actually got me this mug when we became parents for the first time.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, he got me this mug, and there are bees on them. Because he said that I was always busy as a bee, taking care of our baby. Yeah. And so he gave me the mug so I can take this mug to work and enjoy it here. Yeah. So.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nguyen. Thank you for sharing. Great stuff. All right. Who'd like to go next? Okay, so I'll just go down the line then, I guess. Ms. Hung, can you share something that's, that's on your desk and that holds value to you? Ah, there you are. Hi, Ms. Hung. Great. You're still muted. Hang on.
Yeah.
There you
In
go.
my desk, I have flower here. Yeah. I think I work from home, so I have a flower, so I can feel so comfortable. Yeah.
Nice. And did you give the flowers to yourself or did you get them from somebody?
I buy by myself.
Yeah, that's nice too. But yeah, flowers, they definitely make for a much nicer desk, right? So
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Lovely. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Great
Thank
stuff.
you.
Thank you. All right. One more, maybe Miss Tan. Maybe you can share something on your desk too.
Okay, because I'm working from home, so most of my valuable stuff is at the office.
Right.
Okay, let me turn on camera. Can you see me now?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So I have a perfume on my desk because this is a gift that I received from my friend for my recent birthday. Yes, and I haven't used it yet, but I quite love it.
Yes. Nice. Yeah, that probably remembers you of your friend too, huh? Which is good.
Yes.
Nice. Thank you very much, Ms. Tan, for sharing. Great stuff. Okay. All right, guys. So I'm guessing you get the meaning, right? So what I will do is I'm going to ask you guys for one volunteer who wants to be the host of an icebreaker. Yeah. So this is always the most difficult question. Yeah. But I'd like one of you guys to be the host of an icebreaker that we run for the group. So let me share some icebreakers with you guys over chat. And let me see. So you can read through these icebreakers and pick one. Yeah. They all have like, a very similar setup. So the icebreaker one is show something on your desk. The second one is your dinner date. And the third one is your morning routine. Yeah. So basically here, when you do an icebreaker like that, you have a certain topic that you can run. So, moment of truth. Who of you guys would like to be the host for an icebreaker?
Ok. Trời ơi, sao giờ ai đây? Wendy đi, Wendy đâu rồi?
I think Miss Tan's microphone is still on.
Sorry.
That's
I
okay.
think like yes. I might put it on unmute.
Okay, that's okay. Thank you. So who'd like to be the host for an icebreaker? Just to test your own hosting skills and practice with, running a meeting. Okay. And guys, I can imagine that maybe for a bigger group like this, that's a little tricky. Miss Tien?
I'm not sure if I'm doing it well. Okay, so maybe I will be the volunteer.
Sure, go ahead. So what we'll do, Miss Tien, is that in a minute when you're ready, yeah, you can turn on your camera. Have a look at the 3 icebreakers that you see in chat, yeah, and then pick one for yourself. And then when you're ready, yeah, in the next like 2 minutes or so, just turn on your camera, then welcome everybody to the meeting, introduce the icebreaker, and then show how it's done, and ask people one by one, to share their own, to share what they would like to share with your icebreaker. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So pick one and let us know when you're ready. I'll set the timer for, let's say, 2 minutes. Yeah, and then let's see if we can start then. Okay.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. Okay. So that was 2 minutes. Miss Tien, are you ready to go, or do you need some more time?
I think I'm okay. So
Okay, great stuff. So whenever you're ready, please turn on your camera and yeah, just take us through your icebreaker, please.
hello everyone. Okay, welcome back to the training again. So um so first of all, I would like to run a icebreaker. It's okay to say that. So can you all tell me about your routine in the morning when you get up? I will start my own first. Okay. Every day in the morning, after getting up, I will have some morning stretching on bed, and then go shower and to refresh myself after sleeping for 7 or 8 hours. And then do some skincare, and then get change my clothes, change, and go to work. I also suggest you guys to do some morning stretching even on the bed, because I did experience a body collapse when I just stepped out from the bed straight after sleeping, after waking up. That's not really, that's really bad experience, because I had to went to the hospital uh, to have a treatment for it. Yeah. So how about you guys? Let me Miss Tan. I see you're unmute.
Me?
Do you want to say something about your morning routine?
Okay. When I must say that I become lazy when working from home. But back to the time that I went to the office. Every day I will I start up I wake up. Yeah, sometimes I did a little bit stretching, like Dean suggested, but sometimes I forgot. Yeah, and I just do like brush my teeth and wash my face or something like that, and then I do skincare. After that, I packed the food to bring to the office for
That's
lunch.
really nice.
Yes, and then I uh, on the way on the way to work, I will stop by some like a street street food cart to buy a bánh mì or sticky rice or something, yeah, for breakfast. Yes, and then yeah, that's my morning routine.
Yeah. Okay. Very typical Vietnamese woman.
Thank you.
Um, how anyone else who want to share your morning routine? Wendy, how about you?
My morning routine is not too far different from what you guys have just shared. Although I might add that I do tend to do a little bit of over prepare for my day. As some might say that I usually enjoy presenting as if I'm ready, like done up and ready for the day. So I usually wake up a few hours in advance so I have enough time to do my makeup for work. And usually whenever I showed up for work, my makeup would match with my outfit, would match with my heels, and I would look like as if I'm ready to take on the day. even though I have no clue what that date's going to be like. So it's become a routine now for the past month, ever since I started with RMIT. Yeah, like, and people in my office now kind of expected me to showed up for work already dressed up. Whichever day that I don't have any makeup on, or if my clothes didn't match my shoes, there's something going on that morning.
Okay. So, thank you for sharing. Does anyone want to put up your camera and share your routine?
We'll do one more, guys. Yeah? Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Any volunteer? How about Miss Green? Do you want to share your morning routine with me and others?
Sorry, did you call my name?
Yes. Hi, Ji.
Sure, yes, I would love to share my morning routine.
Thank you.
So, well, you know, before I even get up and get out of bed, I probably snooze my alarm clock for about 3 times on average. So that's the first thing that I do in the morning. And then I will slowly move out of bed and try to do a little bit of stretching. And then I go downstairs and make breakfast for myself. And then enjoy my cup of coffee. After about 15-20 minutes, I will, like this morning, frantically realize that I'm about to be late for work. And so I could run upstairs, get changed, skip putting on makeup or skincare because I didn't have time for that. And then ride my motorbike to the office. And on the way, I would stop at Global Cafe at the canteen to get myself another cup of coffee. Yeah, and then I usually be at work around 8:30. The same time as usually my colleagues is here by 8:30 as well. Yeah. So that is my morning routine.
So you like coffee? And you have coffee every day?
I do. I have coffee every day. Yeah.
I know my husband are the same. Go to my husband. He had
Really?
to have a cup of coffee every day, every morning, or else he will be like very sleepy.
Yeah, you know, for Vietnamese, it's like kosher as a lifestyle. It's not just coffee anymore, right?
Yeah. Okay, I think. Thank you, Ji.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. So I think it's done.
Fantastic. So first of all, give Miss Tien a very big round of applause. So very well done.
Thank
Good
you.
stuff. Yeah, this is always like, oh boy, doing this for the first time, but you've done very well, you know, and trying this out. This is basically where, you know, you just get a little bit more comfortable trying it out, right? Because now you feel what it's like, and you know, you get into a bit of a routine, right, as you go through here. So very well done. Yeah, I like it too because you're a very friendly person. You're very inviting. You know, you smile a lot, but also you give people some time to answer, right? So you don't rush it, which is really, really good. You know, so yeah, so you've facilitated the little warm up very well.
Yeah, thank you.
So how much more do you think now you know about your colleagues, Miss Tien?
At least I get to know their face when they put on your camera. I think that all of our routine are almost the same. Just some have a stretching exercise in the morning and other don't. But I do suggest that before you getting up, you should do some exercise. Oh no, I mean stretching. Before you stepping down from your bed.
Right.
That's just to wake up your body and be ready for movement.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good extra tip. All right. Thank you so much, Chin, for hosting this and for going through it. Right. So very well done. Yeah. So guys, the funny thing is, and I'm not sure if you noticed this, but when we do an like an icebreaker like this, you actually get to know so much about your colleagues that you didn't know.
Yeah.
So because of that, I also feel a little bit closer to you guys because now I know a bit more about you, right? Which helps, right? It helps us build a bit more of a bond, right? So this allows us this way to connect a bit more to the people who are there in the meeting. Yeah. So very well done again, Miss Tien, and also for
Thank you.
everybody who shared. Very well done. Thank you for doing that, and thank you for turning on your cameras when you could. Yeah, that's really useful. Yeah. So guys, that brings us to the end of today's workshop. You know, we've gone through like a lot of different topics. Do you guys have any questions or thoughts about anything at all today or anything related to communication skills?
Actually, I have a question about nonverbal communication, especially in eye contact, because people said that if you don't continue eye contact when talking to people, you show that you are hiding something and you are not really trustworthy. However, I find it quite difficult for me to maintain eye contact for a long time because it feels quite awkward to look into the other's eyes all the time when speaking to them. So sometimes I will um, look at the other directions before coming back to them. But I don't know if it is not. I don't know if it's rude or it's not a good way to do. Or should I practice eye contact like all the time to look into the eyes through the whole conversation?
Good question, Ms. Daan. So eye contact is also personal, but it's also cultural. So when in the West, in Europe, in Australia, in the United States, it's more common to hold eye contact longer, right? So then you can hold eye contact a bit longer, and usually it's pretty normal. It's okay. Yeah. But some people are more comfortable with eye contact than others. But what you always do need to do is to have at least some eye contact with the people who you meet with, right? Because if you avoid people's eyes all the time, that's, well, people interpret this like differently, right? But when there is a good connection between people, you also need to have good eye contact from time to time to make sure that you establish that connection, because the eyes are basically some of the most important tools that we have, both to make contact but also to receive contact. Yeah, so we need to do eye contact. Now the trick is, how much is there? Well, typically, if you're uncomfortable with eye contact, what helps is that you talk to people, and when you talk to people in a group, what you do is like you just look down, or you look at maybe somebody's clothing or stuff like that, and then sometimes you just look in their eyes, but then for literally 1 second, no more, right? So just look in their eye, 1 second, go down, 1 second, go down, 1 second, go down, 1 second, go down, right? That's an easy way of like maintaining eye contact with people in a group. If you're having a conversation with a person like one-to-one, right? Eye contact then works best when you're uncomfortable, also with that 1 second rule. Yeah. But then a good way then to do eye contact is just, to look somebody in the eye, and then also like, look somewhere else, look at their shoulder, look at their clothes maybe, and then circle back to their face, make eye contact, right? But definitely for yourself, yeah, make sure that you do some eye contact, but then when you do that, just 1 second is really enough. Yeah, especially also in Vietnam, because what I've noticed is that when I look at people in Vietnam like too long in the eye, it's sometimes seen as, what does that person want? And that creates a bit of tension sometimes. So when you have good eye contact, just have good eye contact for a second, avert your eyes. Yeah, look around a bit, have the conversation, go through, have eye contact again, 1 second. Have the conversation, follow through, have eye contact again. yeah, etc. Yeah, but when you do, 1 second is the golden rule. Okay. So I hope
Even
that
yes, even when they are quite focused on their talking, we still can maintain 1 second.
yeah, yeah, that's
Okay.
fine. Yeah,
Yes.
that's fine. Yeah,
Because I feel that sometimes when they are talking quite like lively and yeah, like quite actively, and I divert my eyes and I feel okay. Maybe they think that I'm not too interested in their story or something. So I have to maintain eye contact, but it makes me really uncomfortable to
yeah,
to keep it for a long time because my eyes still feel quite tired. That's
right.
one thing, and the other thing is that I don't really like the feeling of looking into the other's eye for too long to show that I'm interested in their story,
Yeah,
even though that I'm still listening. If I look at the other way,
Hmm.
yeah. So
Yeah,
I just want to find a way to to fix it. Yeah.
very true, very true. Yeah, and that's why, as long as you do, as long as you have eye contact sometime during the conversation, that's okay. Yeah, and just
Okay.
do it for
Yes.
1 second, you're okay, right?
Yes.
So you don't have to
Mm.
hold eye contact with people all the time. Too much
Mm.
is just, not good either, right? So,
Yeah.
so just stick with the 1 second rule and you'll be fine.
Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ms. Han. Any other thoughts or questions from you guys? Okay. All right. So let's do a quick takeaway, a quick wrap up from today's workshop. So today we talked about messaging, forgetting, and remembering. So remember that, nonverbal communication is still key, right, of our communication. That's still our most important tool that we have as human beings. Now we remember only 25% of what we hear. So we need to select well what we share. Yeah. So you need to understand what you need, yeah, what you must have to do your job and what you should have to do your job. And the rest we can leave out. Yeah. So those are the important things to remember. Trust and rapport. We build rapport, or we build that connection using all of the communication tools that we have. Yeah. Remember that style comes first. Yeah. So style is basically our way of talking, our voice, our tone, and the body language and gestures that we use. After that comes the exact words. So the substance of our communication. But first and foremost, we make a connection to people with our body language and our facial expressions. Now, what you do is when you talk to somebody, follow first what they are doing. And then once you see that you've established a connection, then you can start to lead the conversation by, for example, leading with a smile or leading with some gesture. And then you'll see people follow you. They will start to do what you do. And once you see people start to do what you do, then you know that you have their trust. And then you can start to move into a direction, or you can start to move and do things with them and for them. We need to be clear in our communication. Yeah, so it helps to check the language that we use in both our texts and our emails for unknown words, like generic words, that we have in meetings and in mails. And make sure that you end conversations on a high note, whether it's email or chat or live meetings. Yeah. Etiquette is also important. So our online etiquette, the way that we behave, is important. Yeah. So keep using your upright posture, use hand gestures, again, use eye contact, using a carefree voice that's friendly and sounds like happy. And if you can, introduce icebreakers now and then, in your meetings. So you make the meetings a bit more lively, but you also invite people to participate. Yeah. And with participation, make sure that you get attention from your audience by using CAR, right? And if you remember, CAR stands for camera, activities, and then of course responses, yeah, where basically we get replies and responses from the people who are there. This way the meetings will become more interactive and you'll build a better connection with the people who you do video calls with. So guys, thank you so much for attending the second workshop for communication skills. As always, you'll find the resources in the link that we sent on the Smarter portal. Yeah, so you'll find the recording there, and you'll also find the PDF handouts from the slides I've used today. Okay, and also when you are in the resources, feel free to fill in the feedback form so we can see how you appreciated the session, or we can maybe change for the next time, or what you like us to keep. Yeah. So with that, thank you so much for attending the second session. I hope it was useful. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me or to find me through my Facebook page. Yeah, very happy to to provide you with more details or answer any questions that you have. Yeah. So with that, have a lovely evening. Hope to see you guys soon back in Vietnam. And yeah, stay healthy and safe. And I'll see you soon.
Thank you for your sharing.
Thank you very much for the helpful training.
Great stuff. Thank you too for all the interaction. Very much appreciated.
We have to see you.
It's almost midnight over there, so you should go to sleep.
I wish that were true. Actually, it's actually it's 10 to 12 in the morning. So we have I'm 6 hours behind from where you guys are.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. So it's the other way
So
around.
lunchtime?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my day just started. So. All right. Thank you, Wendy. It's good to see you too.
You're welcome. Have a nice day.
You too. You too. Take it easy.
Have a nice day, everyone.
Okay, guys. Bye bye.
Bye bye.